Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday night. You got your red carpet media men here for you. Big Banks, Stroobs. Let's get right into it. Folks, thanks again. Remember to subscribe, remember to like, remember to follow us on all of the social media portals. We have an issue to talk to you today about. This happened in Chicago. Actor from the show Empire on Fox by the name of Jussie Smollett was allegedly attacked by a couple of gentlemen, a couple of ne'er-do-wells, 2 a.m. On was it Wednesday morning? He's looking for a footlong on a weekday, 2 a.m. out there, frigid temperatures. Allegedly ate, had his late night snack, left the location, and was beat up, was robbed, had a noose placed over his neck by a couple of men shouting, "You're in MAGA country."
This is MAGA country.
This is MAGA country. Not a lot of other details. The authorities have been sifting through video footage. They've been trying to surmise what might have went down. Not a whole lot of details. We're now about 3 or 4 days after this alleged attack. What's going on? We want to reserve judgment, but Big Banks, do you think that there's more to this? Do you think this is a made-up story? Should we withhold judgment until all is said and done, and until the authorities have
You can withhold judgment. I'm gonna say this is fake like a $3 bill. Look, nothing happened to this man. There are so many cameras in Chicago right now that if I pass gas on a corner, they'll probably figure it out. They look at 600, so many hours of footage, and they see him leaving the building. They see him going to Subway. They see him leaving the Subway shop, but they don't see the incident in per se.
Is there a social justice angle here? He in real life is a gay man. He plays a gay character on the Empire show. Do you think the whole throwing the political motive of the robbers yelling, "This is MAGA country," the noose as a racial element, the bleach involved? Do you think this is just too far flung?
I don't know what it. I wish I knew what his motive was. I think he's just stupid.
He might be a confused young
man. No,
man.
He's not confused. He's just stupid. If he made this up, he had just tanked his career. The last thing you want to do is, make up a story. And then when it comes to a racial narrative in your story, when it comes to,
We do have a video. We have two suspects caught on video, and those are perhaps persons of interest according to the Chicago police.
They're people of interest, but you can't even make out who the people are. You don't know if it's a male or female, 2 men, 2 women. It's 2 shadowy figures. And then according to the information, those stills was taken 30 minutes before the incident ever happened. So, he had an opportunity to actually turn over his phone. According to Mr. Smollett,
he hasn't handed over his phone.
Yeah, so
his initial call was not to the police. His initial call was to his manager, which is a little concerning.
But his manager stated that he heard the attack on the phone. So they asked him for his phone. He refused to give up his phone for whatever reason. That's his right. He don't have to give up his property. That is totally his right. But if you want
to bring the perpetrators to justice, you should actually acquiesce, and you should kind of play nice.
Again, I don't want to make any snap judgments to why he might have did what he did. But what he did, if it's not true, if he said this is a hate crime,
it's pretty reprehensible to make these sort of allegations.
Not just that, you don't have the Fox studio, all your co-hosts, everybody back you in the story that it was a racial incident, a hate crime. And now when it comes to find out, I personally say, you don't have to say it. I'm saying that when you find out that you don't lied about this, come next week they're going to write you off the story that you've been shot and killed on Empire, and that's it.
Could be a career catastrophe. This could be the beginning of bad news for you in your entertainment career, in your professional career. The other idea really that comes to mind here involving mainstream media sources, involving these kind of alleged hate crimes is you hear the front end, you hear the most atrocious things, you hear the ugliest kind of aspects about these crimes that have taken place. What happens in the following days and the following weeks when it turns out to be a hoax, when it turns out to be unfounded? It kind of just sort of slowly drifts off, right? You don't.
I think this should not slowly drift off. I think you need to file charges against him for false whatever.
If it turns out to be, we want to still withhold judgment.
You can withhold judgment. Trust me, I done dealt with enough criminals in my life to know when you telling me a lie. This is a lie. I mean, it's too many holes to the story. There's nothing that's adding up in here. And let's look at it. They put a noose around his neck. They poured bleach on him. They beat him up. All this at 2 o'clock in the morning. Who walks around with bleach? I don't walk around with bleach. Who walks around with a noose? I don't walk around with a noose. And just to say, now, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's 20 below zero. It's cold as shit outside. You will be bundled up to a point that nobody can really recognize you. But yet they're going to say, hey, are you such and such?
Are you the FAG from that show Empire? I don't think a lot of Trump supporters in the first place are huge fans of the Empire show. I could be mistaken on that. It might have a lot more appeal than I
At 2 o'clock in the morning, I cannot recognize myself, and I can be looking in the mirror. So I think he has issues. If he really hates this administration, that is his right. But to fabricate a story of that magnitude, just to thump his nose at this administration saying that
seems pretty low.
No, low is terrible. It's worse than low. You have made it bad for every black person in America who has a real
might actually be suffering from racial animus.
I hope that he loses his job if it is false. I hope that they do file charges, and I hope that he goes to jail or fails some part of the justice system.
That hate crimes is you hear the front end, you hear the most atrocious things, you hear the ugliest kind of aspects about these crimes that have taken place. What happens in the following days and the following weeks when it turns out to be a hoax, when it turns out to be unfounded? It kind of just sort of slowly drifts off, right? You don't.
I think this should not slowly drift off. I think you need to file charges against him for false whatever.
If it turns out to be, we want to still withhold judgment.
You can withhold judgment. Trust me, I done dealt with enough criminals in my life to know when you telling me a lie. This is a lie. I mean, it's too many holes to the story. There's nothing that's adding up in here. And let's look at it. They put a noose around his neck. They poured bleach on him. They beat him up. All this at 2 o'clock in the morning. Who walks around with bleach?